All right, so good evening, good night, everyone. This is another episode of the Btz Tho. This is episode number 12. This is your friendly neighborhood producer, Calypso Beats, and I'm sitting alongside my guest today, Dame The Real.
Yes.
Oh my God, this is a long time coming.
Yeah.
Not really, but we already had like a couple shows or whatever. This show today is specifically about your experience with music from, a baby all the way up till now. What was your first experience hearing music and understanding what music was?
Man, I can't remember the very first, but I can definitely remember being put to sleep as a child, or maybe 1, 2, 3 years old, and couldn't really sleep because the music was on. So the music would be on, I was born in Jamaica, whatever radio station it was, they were playing a lot of Sade. It was basically in the 80s, so it was a lot of...
But this is not Jamaica. This is not Jamaica, Queens. This is Jamaica, West Indies, Jamaica.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, being put to sleep to the radio, because maybe, I guess, they probably understood that would probably make me stop crying, or I don't know. But I just remember hearing music, and it always fascinated me. Or what I noticed is that before I seen the equalizer with all the green and red lights and the yellow lights, I visualized it in my mind before I even saw one, which was kind of weird.
That's pretty cool. I think a lot of musicians and producers, they kind of have this spiritual connection towards sound and tone that a lot of other people don't really have.
Right.
This is why we choose to become producers, choose to become artists and all those other things. You're my best friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you are our best friend. We've been friends for years. But you told me that your mom, she wanted to become an actress, right? Or a dancer?
Yeah, actress or, dancer, or kind of like the people that perform in plays. Acting, dancing, singing.
And I find that particularly funny because you're like the funniest person that I know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know how to act. There was a lot of times growing up when people would think I was really serious and didn't believe me when I said I wasn't serious. There was a lot of times I got people to do things for me or give me things, and they would get so upset and be like, why don't you just say it? Because I know that if you just say it, you might get resistance.
Right.
So, I was kind of creative in doing certain things.
So do you think that that's how you use your music, where you're not really coming out and saying it, but you're just conveying that message through a creative way?
Yeah, definitely.
Who are your biggest influences as far as music goes?
Growing up, I didn't really have a vocalist or, a singer.
Right.
The sound is what captivated me. It didn't really matter what it was. I just found it fascinating, and when I would listen to music, I would always hear the things that people couldn't hear. I would hear the background vocals or ad-libs, or I would hear a sound that people couldn't hear. And I said, do you hear that? And they would say, what are you talking about? I don't hear it. So I would hear deep in the mix of a song. When I got into producing is when I started to understand who produced what and read the credits, buy albums, vinyls, CDs. And when I understood who did what, then that's when I started to come to a liking of, Timbaland, Just Blaze, the Neptunes, Track Masters. I guess anybody that made something good. Yeah, and Swiss Beats. Yeah, and then dancehall and reggae music, it was Digital Blend, Steely and Clevie, and Dave Kelly.
Okay.
After a while, people with a certain sound, I didn't really have to know who actually produced because I would hear it.
Let's get back to the growing up stages of it. Like, what was your first encounter with being involved in something musically?
The first encounter was when I met you. Yeah, back in junior high school.
Really? Are you serious? I thought you used to be into DJing and records and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that came around the same time.
Really? I thought you did that way before.
I was actually aspiring to do it way before.
Oh.
And I had my brother's friend. He was already doing it. And I think I was always around sound men and sound systems and DJs, always staying behind basically, standing around, annoying the DJ. Just watching them and asking them questions. The first encounter with creating music and being more involved was around the time I met you and learning how to rap, and you teaching me how to freestyle and what rap is and how to do it and how to fill spaces. And that's when I realized, that cursing was a space filler. So I think I would curse all the time.
Yo, I think around the time that me and you met, it was junior high school. Definitely was in junior high school. I think we were in the same kind of stage in our adolescence. Like, I was very introverted. I wasn't like an out,
Right.
hey, how you doing? What's your name? I was never ever that type of person. Like, I
Right,
was
me either.
usually in like a book, reading about something, even though I never really liked doing schoolwork. I always kind of kept to myself. I remember first time meeting you, I don't know if your first time meeting me might be different, but I remember we used to walk to school.
Right.
And we had a few friends. It was like 4 of us. It was like Robert, Brian, there was another person, and then it was me and you. And you used to be like, some days I'd be seeing you speed walking. Like, what the hell? Like, this dude is speed walking, like, And then we eventually ended up being in the same class. Were we in the same class?
Yeah, we was in the same class the next following year.
Yeah, we were in the same class. And then I think I was into music before I even got to that junior high school too. I was like already recording and all that. I think I was recording and stuff since like maybe like, I'm gonna say like 11 or 10. So I was not recording like I'm in a studio, but like on tapes and karaoke machine and microphones.
Right.
I always looked at our relationship, being that you're my best friend and we have this connection and we went on this journey, we're still on this journey together. But later on, when I got very spiritually connected or woke, as some folks might say, I started doing a lot of research into how different relationships happen. And in Yoruba, you have Ogun and you got Oshoshi. And Ogun is like the metalsmith. So he's stay up inside of the lab or in the workshop and always making things and, doing whatever. And Oshoshi's the one that's out there literally hunting, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's our relationship today, because I'm always like in the lab finding out, oh yeah, do you know if you click this will happen? You know what I'm saying? And I pass that information on to you, and then you take that and you do 8 million other things with it that I would never ever think about doing.
Right.
I think it's very interesting, our friendship that we have with one another and the journey that we're on. Right. You know what I mean? Since back in like what, 90 something? Like
1995, 96.
1995, 96, and we still here today.
Right.
I want to say rest in peace to Prodigy.
Yeah, definitely rest in peace,
Yeah, man, 42, passed away. He has made his transformation into another space. Hold on 1 second. What the fuck is this? A nigga building a house out here? Like, yo, son, the fuck is this, bro? Anyway, getting back to you, Dame the Real.
Yeah.
You and I met in junior high school, right?
Yeah.
So we start working on some stuff. What was the first programs that we were working on at first? Or what was we doing? I think we were recording on tape and stuff.
Yeah, it was a karaoke stuff.
And then computers came into play.
Yeah.
Then we started recording onto the computer, I think onto Windows 3.1, 3.1 or some shit like that. Windows 95 was out, but I had an old ass computer. Right? I had an old Tandy computer.
After that, I think you went to a 98 one or something like that?
Yeah, like
or it was the
90,
compact.
Compact. I think it was a 95. That compact was a 95 or some shit. I had Windows 95. And then we kind of got into programs and,
it was,
digitally recording music.
The one I remember. Yeah, it was Cool Edit. That's one I remember.
Right, Cool Edit. That was my ish.
Yeah.
Even though I had the demo and we had to loop back things and do this shit like that.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, you remember that? You remember that? Having to get like a little loop from off of, I think it was like undergroundhiphop.com. You got a loop and then looped it over to like actually like make the beat. Then you got EJ.
Well, I think at first you went and got Magix.
Oh yeah, Cool Edit. Then I got Magix.
Yeah. And then,
right? And then you got...
Yeah, I went to a place. It was like a little computer store in Flushing.
I thought it was Radio Shack.
It was Flushing, or it might have been a Radio Shack in Flushing. I don't know.
Okay.
I think this was like probably 2001 or 2002, one of those years.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it and I was like, because that was the first program I seen, but it looked kind of exciting because, you know, the other programs were more stiff, less graphics and more serious, but I seen colors and I seen bars in different colors and it says create hip hop and I was, you know, so I bought it and yeah, it was definitely cool for that time because we were able to get our first drum kits and we pretty much used the program and flipped it, however we could, and you know, that was one of the stages.
Right.
And, you know, I think everybody on our block had a copy of it.
Heck yeah. We did dubs of when niggas got the first CD burner, they was like, yo, make me a dub, son, make me a dub. That shit was like tapes all over again, bro.
And the CD burner was 3 times speed, which will take an hour.
That shit'll take hours, B. Nigga, you make a whole jug of Kool-Aid before the CD get done burning. I think we always did that, especially in the hood. We've always thought about other people,
right.
And we're considerate of other people if we got something.
Right.
Nothing was never ever held secret.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
that's
like,
true.
oh, you can't have this because I got it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So then EJ came along where everybody had it. So everybody now was like a beat making competition after that. And then I think like around that same time, I don't know if I had PlayStation. A lot of people had PlayStation. I don't believe you had PlayStation.
Yeah, there was a PlayStation in my house. It wasn't really, I never really used it as much. Yeah, we had PlayStation.
But did you have the MTV Music Maker?
No.
Yeah, that was another thing that was out around that same time.
Right.
So it was like this explosion of digitally making music. I'm gonna talk for myself. But that had me totally against anybody that had an MPC. If I got the same sound that you got, and you got a big ass MPC putting in your zip drives and telling me all this shit, like, yo, you need to get that clap right. You gotta get the clap from off the MPC. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I could do that shit on my computer. I don't give a fuck if I know MPC. But there were a couple situations that we encountered going to like studios when we were younger.
Going to studios or letting certain people hear music. So
yeah, there was a lot of times like early on where we would have like, we would do beats with like samples or even using EJ and these little corny ass programs, and then the engineer would be like, yo, where'd you get this sound from? Or you use the MPC, would be like, nah. They'd be like, what? And we was in where? Like we was in the Bronx. I think we was we was in Harlem or something, And the dude was like, yo, you know, how'd you get this sound? And yo, you got the 2000, MPC 2000? And we like, nah, we just used the computer. And the nigga was like dumbfounded, like, and if you look at it from then till now, like everybody's using computers to make music now. The MPC is something that's like old hat. You know what I mean? It's old hat, and I've always been against like MPC for them. I just don't like them. You know what I'm saying? Because you know they have, there's a certain arrogance to come forward with an MPC. You know, like, oh, I make beats. Watch how I put this snare roll, and it's just like, again, I could do the same thing. Just put the dots inside the computer. It's not anything different. It's the same thing. They always try to make it. I feel like people that have MPCs make it seem like what they doing is hotter or better than a nigga that's on a computer. When my argument is, it's the same thing. It's always been the same thing.
Yeah. It was the same with keyboards with, you know, if you didn't have a Triton Studio or if you didn't have like something major big,
Phantom,
something that you can't carry on your own, then they didn't really respect you.
Those were the two major joints back in the 2000s, the Phantom and the Triton.
Yeah.
Those are the two joints. If you don't have that, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, so, you know.
And then what changed that was then you had Swiss Beats come out now. And he had a regular ass Casio keyboard.
Which he confirmed it was a lie after that. That was before social media and everything, so anything that was said, it was just straight true, you know?
Right.
Yeah, he said he never used the Casio, and I believed him because most of the sounds he had, I didn't find them on a Casio, and I had one.
This is true.
And he said he was using a Korg M1.
Right.
Which is kind of like, a Triton part of that family.
But I think even the sounds, I know a lot of people out there know, or a lot of producers out there have heard of General MIDI sounds, right? A lot of those sounds that he was using, I'm not talking about the drums. I ain't talking about the drums.
Yeah, they were General MIDI type sounds.
All of them joints was General MIDI. Like, anybody could do that shit, you know what I mean? Anybody could have those same type of sounds. Even if you did go onto a Casio keyboard, you will find strings, like the normal shit, strings, grand piano, orchestra hit, all them instruments, they're on there, you know what I'm saying? But I thought it was clever.
Right.
I really thought it was dope. I thought it was clever. That at that time he was just using like General MIDI sounds and making hot beats.
Right.
Do you think that you've changed or transformed since before till now?
Yeah, definitely. When I first started, at least composing my own music,
right?
I was, that was back then, when, you realized what MIDI was and how to use it and how to connect it. So, definitely it was around that time when, I had a Casio that I bought from my friend. And when I had the Casio, I wanted to be able, at first I started playing notes, but I didn't know how to get it on beat to be quantized and arranged. So a lot of the stuff I was doing at that time was live, trying to press record over and over again.
Sounding all wacky and all out of shape.
Yeah. So once I went to Sam Ash and bought a MIDI Sport 2x2.
A MIDI Sport. And I think that shit was green, right?
It was a green little box with 2 inputs. And it worked, but it was just late. The latency was crazy, and I guess at the time we didn't know what latency really was, but it was annoying. So I would actually make beats trying to ignore latency, and I was still, of course, collecting the dots and the piano roll on the computer.
Right.
But once things got a little better, and I remember you would always tell me, when you went off to the Army and you bought a 2496 sound card made by Tascam.
Oh yeah, the US 122.
Yeah. And then you always tell me to get it, and I always be like, nah, man, I'm good. What I got? I kept saying, I'm good. So once I got it, the latency was basically gone, and everything was definitely right about that at the time. So I got that, and then most of my playing, it wasn't perfect, or, it didn't have a big range of emotion.
Right.
Everything was just like, I was trying to be anthematic and doing something in a Swiss beat style.
Right, because a lot of that, around that time, I think you were more so inspired by like Rough Riders, Swiss Beats, DMX, The Locks, Eve.
Yeah, so I would try to do that stuff, and then as the years progressed, I started to I learned how to play, C major chord, and that was the formula for a while. And in between time, it was just like trying to find sounds, moving on to Logic. And then we found out there was a sampler in Logic. Once we started messing with it, it was the ESX24.
The ESX24, you could put all these different type of sound files in there, which would be like Reason files. I think you could put sound font files.
Yeah, Akai
files. You could put all these different things. So even the MPC files that were on an MPC, you could take them off of an MPC and then put it into the ESX24. Then we started getting into sound design and programming our own samples inside there. That's what opened it up even more.
Yeah. From there on, I think I might have spent probably $1,000 on just sounds by itself. I would just always go to Guitar Center or wherever, or Sam Ash, and I would just ask for samples. And then once I found these sample series by East West. It had the sampler stuff for the ESX24. So I would just go there every time I got paid every week. or every other week, I would just go there and, okay, these are guitars. I go home, try them, I'll be like, oh, this is, these sound just like the Triton. I don't need the Triton.
Yo, you had like stacks and stacks and stacks of CDs, bro.
Yeah.
Of sample CDs from East West.
Yeah. Which is the funny thing about it is, they still make them. I think they make VSTs, so I seen something on YouTube and it was like an East-West VST. So they made some real great stuff.
Right.
But then there was also the sound font stage, with realizing what they were and then finding the websites that had them online.
Yeah. They had the sound font, what is it called? Soundfont.net or something like that?
Yeah, the best one, I believe it's still up too.
What's the name?
Soundfont2MIDI.com.
On some real shit, I could never ever remember that website.
Yeah,
bro.
Soundfont2MIDI.
I could never ever remember that website.
It's still up, but I think I downloaded everything, And there were some good sound fonts, and then there was some
shitty ones.
Some shitty ones, and then there was some general MIDI. Yeah, general MIDI sound font banks, and that took up the whole screen and.
Right.
But it was a good thing. So it was a big change. I think I held on to that formula or that way of making beats for from 2002 to 2012 or 13.
So this is 2012, 2013. What has changed from that for you?
My approach on how I made music. Now, I basically don't need to figure out a melody. Now I could actually translate it and pretty much lay it down.
So basically, from your 20s to 30s, right? You got way better at your music notation or music theory.
But I would have never made it there if I didn't let go what I was stuck on, basically, the old computer, the old programs.
Right.
Basically, I was holding on to those programs for basically 10 years.
Wow.
Basically, and there was a lot of problems that I was having with that particular computer because, I was using Windows and Windows changed this operating system probably 3 times.
That's a given. I think from Windows 95 to about Windows ME, then they have Vista, right?
Yeah. Oh, I actually did have ME. I bought ME. I remember that.
For me, all of shit was horrible. Yeah. All of them was horrible.
Vista was horrible. ME was horrible. XP was what basically made me. That's what I bought my first computer on, and it came with that.
Right.
Yeah, and it was the first computer around that time. Me and all my friends, I was the first one to get it.
Right, and it was fast.
For that time. Yeah. So basically, I was on that computer for about 10 to 12 years.
Right.
And then once I realized that it's I couldn't take it anymore, and I would go on YouTube and see all these producers make YouTube videos with their different programs, and I'm like, why they're not getting any problems?
Right.
I was like, damn, I got so many problems with my computer, or even viruses. And I started to think, I was like, if I leave this computer, there wouldn't be another Logic to go to.
Right. I think it's very important as a producer that makes music digitally. We all make music digitally today. There's still a few people that still use mixing boards and tape and all the analog stuff, and that shit is great. But I think as a digital musician, you have to know a little bit about technology, operating systems, anything having to do with tech, even with Wi-Fi and things, just so that you can get your samples or whatever you need to get from off of the internet so you can keep your stuff running and up to date. I think it's very, very important. In this day and age, you can't just get up and say, yo, I want to make music. You actually have to have some kind of knowledge about Windows and, operating systems, hard drives, speeds, 2496 and whatever they got now, digital interfaces, MIDI. You have to know a little bit about this stuff in order for you to even function as a musician in 2017.
Yeah, definitely, because there's people that actually went out and bought a program because they felt frustrated that they didn't want to go to somebody else. And I understand. That's what I actually did back in the day, always going to my friend's house to record, and
Right.
he was basically lost, you know, because he never did that stuff before, and basically he wanted me to show him a little thing, and I showed him, and yeah, he turned out leaving the actual box at my house, never came back to get it for the program, you know. So it's like you could tell that he's not thinking about like furthering it. Yeah, he just basically left the box.
Right. We were talking about from when you were a child to now. Like, I meet a lot of artists, because artists now are making their own beats and whatever, and that's awesome. But it's not something that they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think artists just want to be artists. They just want to write their song and perform their song and record it, and then, you know, that's it. But a lot of artists do the same thing. They leave the box. They leave the shit. They say, okay, yo, I'm gonna drop the hottest mixtape today. You know what I'm saying? And then when they start getting into doing it, they're like, damn, like, I gotta use reverb. I gotta use reverb. I gotta use, what is a compressor? There's all this, like, there's like,
all this stuff.
there's mad things. Like, there's this huge index of basic stuff that you have to know. It's not something that you can just wake up today and say, I'm just gonna do this. You can do it. If you have the bread, yes, you can go to a studio. You can find an engineer that will work with you, that will know all this stuff ahead of time, and you will have the best album, the best EP, the best single, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it takes a little bit of knowledge and patience and understanding to actually get into this field of music, sound design, producing, being a musician in 2017.
Right.
You know what I mean? And at this point, I think we're still learning.
Yeah.
We don't know everything. I always reach out to people that do the same thing that I do, or the same things, are into the same things, and I ask questions. You know what I mean? I think that's very important. I think that's a very good relationship to have, because nobody knows everything. You're always gonna run into a jam.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Well,
Yes.
D, this was a great interview, a great conversation.
Yes, it
I
is.
think you are an awesome producer. Whether you got a
thanks.
Grammy or don't have a Grammy in your living room.
Right.
I'm not just saying that to blow smoke, but it's the truth for me. I think that this is a great conversation. I hope that you go on to do greater things. And if people want to reach you, or if they want to holler at you to get some music, to get some beats or something, or if they need work done, where can these people reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram. It's Damien The Real, DAMION The Real. My email is Lawrence_Damien at yahoo.com. Lawrence, LAWRENCE _DAMION at yahoo.com. You can find me at Dame The Real, SoundCloud.
All right, folks, this is the end of our show. I think we're at show number 12. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You can always reach me at Btz Tho at gmail.com if you have any questions. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can get me at Btz Tho at gmail.com. Thank you, and good evening and good night.